Hyundai's Kona Electric has played a significant role in the expansion of the EV market since this model's introduction in 2018, hence the importance of this updated design. Cabin quality and connectivity take a big step forward, and with the top version, driving range is still class-leading. Plenty to like then.
Hyundai hasn't made any changes to the engineering or the powertrain of this improved Kona Electric, but since that original model was on sale for only 2 years, we're going to assume a lack of familiarity here, which will certainly be the case if you never happen to have driven an electric car before. Should you be new to the EV genre, the first thing you're going to notice is the way this car hurls itself away from rest. Once you understand the drive dynamics here though, the rush of blood to the head that this Hyundai gets every time you press the loud pedal with any real vigour is only to be expected. There's a lot more pulling power than would be generated by an equivalent combustion engine, 395 Newton meters of torque, and it's all delivered to you right from the get-go rather than building as it would do with a fossil-fuelled power plant. 62 miles an hour from rest takes 9.9 seconds in the entry-level 39 kilowatt-hour version we're trying here, which uses a 136 PS electric motor and has a 189-mile driving range between charges. But most Kona electric customers are going to want the alternative 64 kilowatt-hour variant, which uses a 204 PS motor and manages a WLTP rated range of 300 miles that continues to set the standard amongst affordable EVs. Conserving your available driving range requires careful management of the energy regenerative process that kicks in when you come off the throttle. Like some other EVs, this one provides you with paddle shifters behind the steering wheel that allow you to either intensify or reduce the regenerative braking feel. Alternatively, you can automise things using a smart regenerative braking system that constantly calculates the optimum level of braking regeneration based on the positioning of the vehicle ahead. There's also a selectable virtual external sound system for creating artificial noise to warn those on the pavement of your approach in urban areas. On the open road, this car struggles a little with weight. It's 300 kilos heavier than a conventional Kona, but the even distribution of the battery pack across the floor plan helps with handling, and a more advanced independent rear suspension setup has allowed the engineers to deliver a decent quality of ride. As usual with an EV, you get plenty of cabin screen options to allow you to plan your route around your remaining available charge. When it's depleted, you'll be able to recharge your Kona in just 47 minutes if you can find a 100 kilowatt DC CCS charging point. Most of the time though, you'll be charging this Hyundai overnight using a 7 kilowatt wall box. You'll have to pay a little extra to get installed in your garage. In the 64 kilowatt hour model, you can revive the cells from empty in this way in 9 hours and 15 minutes, which would use around £9 worth of electricity at current rates. It would take just over 6 hours if you were to go for this 39 kilowatt hour model. This improved Kona Electric has emerged from this midterm update looking a little smarter and more gym-toned than before, though, as so often with midterm updates, you might initially be scratching your head a little to establish exactly why. Possibly it's because it's now a little more obviously an EV, the kind of thing the market these days clearly seems to want. Hyundai has long understood this preference. Its very first mass-produced electric vehicle, the Ioniq Electric of 2016, had a distinct look, but this Kona Electric proved to be a much more complete interpretation of the EV concept. Come in search of the changes made here, and most are to be found up front. Now, there's no pretense at a grille. Previously, there was a perforated front panel. Hyundai wants you to know without any question that this is an EV, hence the rather curious decision to try and make a frontward feature out of this charging port flap. Move to the rear, and if you happen to be familiar with the original model, you might notice these more horizontally stretched tail lamps. These lower lamp clusters are different too and are no longer framed with ugly dark cladding. Everything now colour-coded, more harmonious, and much the better for it. Time to take a seat at the wheel. It's actually not that much different in here, but it feels as if it is because the screen technology's taken such a step forward with the adoption of big 10.25-inch displays across the range for the instrument cluster and the centre screen, which now comes complete with a whole range of Blue Link connectivity functions. The cabin differences over an ordinary Kona are actually more pronounced than you might expect. The key change being the installation of this wider aircraft-style silver-trimmed centre console, which incorporates the shift-by-wire push-button controls for the single-speed auto gearbox that all EV models have to have. As before, you're not sat particularly commandingly in what is supposed to be an SUV, but up front here, you're favoured with this pair of unexpectedly cushy pews that should allow all shapes and sizes to get comfortable. And unique to this electric model is the extra storage space you get under this broad centre console. And in the rear, well, it's in this part of the car that you're likely to be most keenly reminded that you've bought an SUV based on a small car platform rather than that of a family hatchback. As it turns out, it's not too bad in here for the carriage of two folk, providing they're not especially lanky of leg. If they are, then compromises will need to be made by the front seat occupant in order to be able to accommodate them. But it would have been nice if Hyundai had incorporated a reclining backrest. The brand told us it had added charging ports back here as part of this mid-term update, but they don't seem to have appeared as part of the UK spec, a surprising omission. You don't get overhead reading lights either, and there's just this single overhead coat hook on the driver's side. You can, though, tick off seat back storage nets, a couple of ISOFIX child seat mounts for the two outer seats, compact door bins incorporating bottle holders, and a centre armrest with a couple of cup holders. Let's finish with a few words on boot space. Now, the design team's efforts to build in the battery packs in a way that doesn't impinge on carriage capacity hasn't been entirely successful. That's fallen from the 374 litre total you get in a standard Kona to 332 litres here. Push forward the 60/40 split folding rear seat and you'll reveal a relatively flat loading floor with as much as 1,114 litres of total fresh air if you load to the roof. Hyundai seems to specialise in game-changing design. The iX35 FCEV was the world's first mass-market hydrogen-powered car. The Ioniq was the first model with 3 different electric powertrains in one body type. The i30N hot hatch changed the shape of the shopping rocket segment. And this Kona Electric has revolutionised what we can expect from an affordable electric car. In a Volkswagen ID3, you'd get a more futuristic interior. In a Nissan Leaf, you'd get more rear seat passenger space. But both those cars are completely trounced by the driving range this Kona Electric can offer in its higher output form, which is something that only this car's Kia cousins can match for the price. The opposition, though, is catching up, hence the need for this car to step up its game. It has, which is why if you're searching for an EV at this price point, it's still one you can't afford to ignore.